Hey family, hope everybody is doing well. Sorry about the absence. I have been just overwhelmed and overrun with news that I just it's so much to process. And I really just kind of have to take a step away now because um between the stuff that's going on in my own personal life and the stuff that I see coming, um, you know, just it's just a lot of anxiety. That's the best way I can describe it. It's the unknown. It is the seeing that we are surrounded and just the lack of understanding by our people how we are surrounded, being targeted, and about to be rounded up. Like, we do not have a whole lot of time to be playing around. And I really hope y'all have go bags packed. Um, uh, but I'm going to do these two stories. And just leave me your feedback in the comment section if you see what I see or if you have something that you'd like to add. But there are two things happening concurrently, along with some other things that are roundabout, subversive ways of eliminating black people and making us sitting ducks for whenever the stuff they have planned happens. The majority of our people, because we are the lower rung or the lowest in the caste system, that are stuck here because other people can leave. They have other countries, they have countries or nations they can go to, and they're being booted out if they're here illegally. They're getting free rides, whatever. We're the people that can't leave. And we're the original class of people that have always been targeted. And, with the Democratic Party, they introduced all this illegal immigration or illegal entrance because that's part of the new global order to make a world with no borders, mixed cultures, mixed nations. It's basically the United States. The whole world becomes the United States or attempts to be the United States, even though you can see this experiment didn't work. But the people who are in charge of the planet, the adversaries' tools, they believe that they can implement America all over the planet, and it's just not going to work. It didn't work here, and that's why they got to tear it down and start something new. It just ain't going to work. Most people cannot see what's happening, especially us people of color. So what we need to do is make sure we are understanding the times that we're living in. We're living in a very dangerous time. And I am going to tell you with no uncertainty, I feel afraid for my people. I'm not afraid for myself because I have put myself out here on the line for a long time. And so I understand the persecution, the continued persecution, or the escalation of persecution that I can possibly receive. And I don't have any fear about it. I'm not concerned about it. Um, I'm just not. It's whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. Um, and the reason that I say this is because I have so many people around me who are asleep, and so many people who are around me who believe in the Messiah and the Most High, but they don't know Him, and so they're not going to be able to call out to Him. They're not awakened, and I know the Most High can do anything at any time, but right now, as those of us who are watchmen, those of us who are paying attention, those of us who are um, enlightened and are trying to seek as much knowledge and wisdom and understanding as we can before um, the time of knowledge is shut down and we have to be quiet. you're tired. Everybody's tired. Everybody's looking around, and people are now starting to figure out something ain't right because you're seeing the layoffs. You can't afford to buy groceries. You can't afford to pay your rent. You just see things are happening, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So people are starting to wake up, but it's taking the rug to be pulled from underneath people to wake people up. Unfortunately, but for our people, for black people, Negroes, this is a very dangerous time for you, and I'm going to tell you why. So let's get into this Eyewitness 7 news story first. It says Trump is invoking the Alien Enemies Act. Here are the answers to key questions about the 1798 law. Now, this is very important because it ties into. I'm have to talk in code, so I'm gonna need y'all to spell out some stuff and understand some things because I gotta try to get it past the algorithms. R, Ara for us Negroes. Ara E X 8 4. Write that down and look that up on your own time. I did a video on it and it's posted on Rumble. Please make sure you go and watch that video. I can't put a link to it because Google does a thing when you it doesn't like certain links. But this ties into this plan that the government has when they declare a national emergency about certain things. They can begin to round up certain groups of people who are targets because they're going to be a threat. Now, we haven't done anything to this country to be a threat except for be y'all's chosen people. And they'll try to get rid of us as many of us as they can. And this is what's getting ready to happen. So, if you know anything about the ARA E X 8 4, you understand what is happening. It's happening backwards, but it's still happening. What you're getting ready to see soon is a whole bunch of people, popular, famous, politically connected people of color, black people, escorted from their jobs and taken away. And I'm telling you this so you can be prepared for it. But let me read you this so I can explain to you what's happening. So it says President Donald Trump has issued a proclamation invoking the Alien Enemies Act, an 18th century law previously used when the U.S. was at war. So by declaring this or invoking this, it means we're at war. This is the quiet part before the bullets and things get to flying, or whatever choice or method of deletion these people are choosing. They've already chosen to poison the air, the ground, the water, the food. They give us contaminated pharmaceuticals, pharmakia. They make up illnesses from stuff, and we are already at war. It's just a different type of warfare. They're erasing the history, and that is one of the things that white supremacy does well to reinvent itself. They reinvent or rewrite history and erase it when they get ready to go to war and after they win the war. So you won't know what happened before things got started. And if they get rid of enough of the older, wiser people who can retain history, The ones that are left behind are going to be so dumbed down they won't be able to tell nothing. They don't know history. Even though we live in a time of knowledge, the most knowledge one could ever receive, thanks to the internet, most people don't use it. And then you add to that, we watch shorts and TikToks, and people can't watch something more than 5, 6 minutes. This is the dumbest generation probably on the planet. So most people don't know that this country is at war with the world, in particular with the people in the country. But you just need to know what's going on. They're preparing for World War III and for the Great Reset. So it's two things happening at one time. So it says the law has been invoked 3 times before. Now just think, now this country has been around for 20, 50 years, incorporated. Most recently as a justification for some internments during World War II. So the fact that they can invoke this means now that they have done this, the internment camps are open for business. Now, if they are exporting people who have nations to go back to, sending them away, who are the internment camps for? Other nations are calling their people home. They're telling their people to leave America. And most people don't really see this. It's happening quietly, just like I told y'all it was going to happen. It's happening quietly, but people are quietly leaving. You don't hardly see any Hispanics out anymore. If you do see them, they are so sleeved up and hats and face cover, you can't tell them from white people. It's not that many, but when you do see them, you don't see them like you used to see them. They're hiding. You don't see Hispanic people out eating dinner on Fridays and Saturdays or on paydays. You don't see them out shopping like you used to. The ones that were not here legally, or the ones that are here on temporary status, those people are not here. They're either leaving or hiding. Uh, you see the people from the Caribbean, Caribbean immigrants. They're being told they're not wanted here, and they're put on a list where uh, their people are not allowed to come here, and our people, they don't want our people to go there. Only, mostly black nations. A couple of nations in Africa, in the Sahel region, are also on the list. So if you're not paying attention to all the things that are happening in totality, you're not seeing that we are surrounded. We're being surrounded. Not only are we being surrounded, we're being unemployed in grand scale, because government, whether it's teaching or working in DC, law enforcement, whatever, those have been ways that black people have been able to move up to the middle class. Well, those things are being taken away from black people. So black people are getting ready to go back to the bottom of the barrel, because white people got to have jobs. They always got to make sure white people got to work. So we're going to lose between white people and AI, or white supremacy and AI. We're going to lose. And so you need to be prepared for that. Also, you need to be prepared for our people are getting kicked out of the military, which I'm going to do a story about that. Our history is being erased from, the civil rights era, all the things that we did, the Tuskegee Airmen, just anything. So slavery history is being rewritten. A lot of contributions by different people, including Thurgood Marshall, is being erased because of DEI. They say it's DEI, or they say it's woke. What the war really is on black people. The war is about Israelites. They know, when I say they, the powers that be, the fallen angels, whatever you want to call them, Esau, Edom, whatever. They know the time is coming to an end, And they keep talking about this 2030 agenda, but the way that they are accelerating everything, going right into Project 2025, going right into the Deagle report, you can see how we are being surrounded, and they're preparing for something. They're preparing for us to be desolate, um, destroyed financially, and easy to round up because we're not going to have any place to go. Not in the natural, and that's what they think. Now the Most High gonna do what he always does. He gonna come in a clutch and be like, hey, y'all ain't for do nothing to my people. Get your bag. Y'all got your bag packed. Be ready. And this is where I'm going when I finish with this. So let me shut up and get through this story, these two stories. So it says this time Trump says he's targeting Venezuela's Tre de Aragua gang, declaring that its members have unlawfully infiltrated the United States and are conducting irregular warfare and taking hostile actions against the United States. Okay. So, what is going to stop them from saying this about black gangs in Chicago, or gangs in Atlanta, or gangs in Florida, or gangs in California, the Crips and the Bloods, or whatever? I don't know nothing about no gangs because I just don't know nothing about them, except for the ones that I'm telling you about. But what happens when this, they go down the list and they say, well, black chattel slavery, so they never were citizens, even though we granted them citizenship. We getting ready to undo the Constitution and take away the amendments that made them citizens and gave them rights, because that's coming. The end of the second Reconstruction era is here. So y'all need to understand that, and y'all need to be ready. And I'm saying that I'm pointing these things out because I want you to understand how critical it is for you to understand we are unprotected. So you're going to have to protect yourself. You may have to flee. You may have to hide. You may have to live outside in the bushes. You may end up getting picked up and taken off and persecuted. Um, we don't know. But what we do know is everybody else that ain't supposed to be here is either getting asked to self-deport, or they're getting deported. They're getting picked up from work. They're getting picked up at all kinds of places and sent away. So for me, I'm looking for the book for our boogeyman, because all the things that they're doing, initially the stuff that they did wasn't really impacting us. You only saw white people, Hispanics, the alphabet crew crying. But when they start hitting these government jobs and these things start sticking, you're going to see mass layoffs. Those things are going to trickle down to local economies. It's going to be dire. You're going to see schools closing. You already see food programs, and then I have some other videos that I have to do for y'all. But there are a lot of things going on, a lot of cuts being done in the name of saving money, but really it's about taking lives. I wonder how they were going to get rid of so many people in 2025 with this Deagle report, go from 350 million to 100 million. I see it now. I see it clearly. And I want to point it out to y'all so you can just pay attention to the things that they're doing. There are a lot of distractions, lots of distractions. And I really hate that some channels that I follow are talking about every little thing that these people say, because this administration is saying a lot of stuff, but the things that you need to pay attention to are not talked about. These are the things that are going to get a lot of our people hemmed up. All this flashy signing executive orders, anything that got to go through the courts, those are distractions. Stuff like this, that the president, the powers that he actually has, are the things that you need to focus on. And that is the thing that people seem to be unable to um, keep a focus of, because those are the things that are really important. So it says the move to invoke the 1798 law is already facing a legal challenge. A federal judge said Saturday that he was temporarily blocking the administration from conducting deportations under the Alien Enemies Act. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Sunday that more than 250 Tren de Aragua members had been transported to El Salvador after Trump's proclamation. So, like, how you find so many so fast, you know? Here's a look at some of the key questions and answers about the Alien Enemies Act. So, the text of the Alien Enemies Act, and there's a link in this story, and I will include it in the description so that you can go back and look at the act yourself. Open up this story and click on the act. I may just copy the link to the act itself so that you can read it. But you need to understand it and look at it from a black point of view. Look at it through black lenses, a Negro lens. See how these things that are going on can apply to us, because we could be considered aliens at any time. This country gave us citizenship. It gave us rights. We were not citizens. We were chattel slavery. We were less than a human being. So they can go back to doing that again. And the people that are in power will do that. They will disrespectfully do it. They won't do it nicely like the Democratic Party was. They was trying to just erase us all together, but in a totally different way, by making men and women hate each other, creating gender wars, and making folks not be attracted intimately with each other to want to procreate, that type of thing. But this other group of people, they wants to do the Civil War all over again, baby. They wants to bring back slavery. They really don't want you here. They want America to be a white ethno state. And so, you have to really start looking at that. And you already know the history of them folk. So they gonna get on code. One thing we know about them is they know they get on code when it comes to being opposed to us. So we need to be making sure that we are protecting ourselves, looking out for our homes, our community, our people, especially if you live amongst our people, and just being vigilant, because there are going to be a lot of people who are moving around stealthily, who don't mean us any good. They've been spying out our communities for a minute. So it's not going to be difficult for people to come in, because they already see our people are distracted. Our people are not paying attention. We don't even know what's going on. So we are literally sitting ducks, and it's going to be the Most High that has to intervene to get most of us. But just also remember, the Most High didn't promise everybody was going. Everybody ain't going to make it to the wilderness. Some people going to leave before the wilderness, but not by their own volition. Some people are going to just not make it. So it says the text of the Alien Enemies Act says it can be invoked whenever, one, a war is declared between the U.S. and any foreign nation or government. So I don't really know who we are at war with. Well, I was gonna say we are having a war with the people in the Middle East, so that's probably who we are at war with. 2. Invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government. So I don't know if they're trying to say that we have been invaded by bad people from Venezuela. Don't know. It says the president makes public proclamation of the event. So all he had to do was say he's declaring this act. He made a public proclamation. That's it, the end. So he has the power to do so. Once he does that, then he is to activate all the other stuff that goes along with these types of executive orders, which is what most people don't pay attention to. But the U.S. isn't at war with any other nation. Can this law still apply? In his proclamation invoking the act, Trump states that Tren de Aragua, which his administration has also designated a foreign terrorist organization, is perpetrating, attempting, and threatening an invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States. The proclamation also asserts that this is occurring directly and at the direction, clandestine or otherwise, of the Maduro regime in Venezuela. A lawsuit filed Saturday by the American Civil Liberties Union and Democracy Forward disputes the claim. So it says Tren de Aragua, a criminal organization, is not a nation or foreign government and is not a part of the Venezuelan government, nor does it receive any support from the government. The lawsuit says, arguing that the U.S. cannot declare war against Tren de Aragua because it is not a nation, and neither Venezuela nor Tren de Aragua have invaded or threatened to invade the United States. Correct. They came, if they are here, because I don't know, allegedly, say allegedly, they came because um, they were invited by the Democratic Party. So what are they supposed to do? Anyway, it says, why would Trump invoke this law rather than turning to laws typically used for immigration enforcement? Trump said in October that he wants to use the 1798 law because it gives tremendous authority to everybody to straighten out our country. So at the end of the day, it's all about power, 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 power. So the gist of the story is that Trump is citing this as a way to bypass all of the due process and make it easier to arrest and deport people. And so that's what we need to pay attention to. The fact that he is attempting to fix it so he has all these executive powers to bypass Congress. And there are no checks and balances. And that is where we are right now. We are at the point where there is very little pushback against the administration. And then when they do get challenges or pushback, they just ignore the courts. So basically, we are in the midst of a coup. So it says Catherine Yon Ebright of the Brennan Center at New York University also said the president was using the Alien Enemies Act to dispense with due process. He wants to bypass any need to provide evidence or to convince a judge that someone is actually a gang member before deporting them, she said in a news release. So the problem with this is that if they're doing that to those people, they can do it to us, and they will do it to us. They have done it to us. And so what I want y'all to look at is, because they're doing these things to other nations of people, like I tell y'all about everything else, it is practice until they get to our asses. Point blank, period. That's what it is. We are on the chopping block and it just ain't our time. But this is a dress rehearsal for what they're planning to do to our men, women, and children. So you need to be understanding where this is going. It ain't going to be nothing nice or pretty. So it says when Trump talks about this act, he's frequently referencing gang and cartels that's focusing on these groups change things. And let me just say, the reason that they do this is because white people are scary. White people don't see themselves as criminals or as murderers or as drug dealers or drug users. It's everybody else except for them. They're perfect. Most, not all, but most. And so, the other thing is they always want to be around whiteness. They like their own. They feel safe amongst themselves. They can't live without other people involved in their lives because they need people to pick their vegetables. They need people to keep their children. They need people to pick up their trash, do all the things that they don't want to do. They just want to rule, whether it's at the plant down the street or in the coal mine or in the White House. they want to rule. They want to be in charge, whether it's at school or on the road as a police officer. They need to have control and be in charge. So this calling everybody that's not white a gang or a cartel is pretty hilarious, but it's an old playbook, so y'all should be used to it. Um, So this law was created. It says, why was this law created? So it says French nationals were the original target lawmakers had in mind when they passed the Alien Enemies Act. My, how time flies. It was formed by the French Revolution. It was aimed at quashing political opposition from immigrants who were sympathetic to France, said May Nige, a history professor at Columbia University. At the time, lawmakers thought giving the president broad authority to detain and deport enemies made sense, according to the Brennan Center's Ebright. Quote, we were in this undeclared naval conflict with France, and the Congress was very worried that naval conflict could escalate into another major ground war with a European power. And we have none of these tools for prosecuting espionage or sabotage, for trying to make people who are maybe trying to injure the national security and removing them from the country. None of that exists. And so you have to ask yourself why? Why is it that it doesn't exist? Why does this country act like it can't make no rules? Like it just doesn't even make any sense. Um, Other laws passed at the time, collectively known as the Alien and Sedition Acts, expired a few years later. Najee says, but the Alien Enemies Act had no expiration date and remains on the books. So they intentionally put stuff on the books. So they'll always have a way to do whatever that is that they want to do. Round up the browns and the blacks. So, so it says, when has the Alien Enemies Act been used before? The law has been used 3 times, always in connection with a declared war. During the 1812 war, during the World War I, and most recently as justification for the internment of German, Italian, and Japanese nationals during World War II. It wasn't a blanket roundup, but they investigated people and they had the authority to detain them for the period of the war. So we need to understand that the same thing can happen to us. Detentions connected with the Alien Enemies Act were separate from the internment of the 100,000 Japanese Americans that occurred as a result of an executive order from President Franklin D. Roosevelt. More than 30,000 people were detained under the Alien Enemies Act during World War II in a program overseen by the Department of Justice, according to the National Archives, which, if y'all don't know, the National Archives is also under attack, and this administration is seeking to get rid of all of the history that involves us, to include slave records, um, merchant ship records, census records, all kinds of information is there. The Constitution is held there. I saw something that said Trump wanted the Constitution moved from uh, the National Archives to his office. Like, it's a lot of weird stuff going on. Y'all really got to keep up with this stuff. Because it's happening so fast. It's like the things that he can do, he's doing and getting away with, and the things that are, that people are most upset about are the things that are in the courts and being challenged. But these things can happen immediately overnight, and there's really nothing that anybody can do about it. So it says it was very broad. Najai said they were newspaper editors, martial arts instructors, Buddhist priests, community leaders who were singled out as enemy aliens. So just take away the aliens piece and you can see, black truth tellers, black revolutionaries, um, anybody who has worked in any capacity of the government, pastors, black Christian pastors, community leaders, people who are popular in the community and have a following, are possibly going to be singled out for the REX84, or maybe even before that, because that other thing that I keep spelling out for y'all, that's everybody. They don't want none of us here. None. So it says, while Japanese internment is more widely known, Ebright said it's also important to recognize other communities were impacted. The law's sordid history, she argued, clearly shows why it shouldn't be used in the future. So it says there were over 15,000 internees of German and Italian descent, and hundreds of thousands of non citizens of Italian and German descent who were heavily regulated under the Alien Enemies Act regulations during World War II. And so there are many stakeholders in this history, and there are many reasons to look at this law and say never again, Ebright said. We should not be using this to target any group. The issue is all of these groups now have become white. So if you're not white, able to pass as white, then you could, possibly fall under the category of the Alien Enemies Act. So it says rather than targeting people based on their conduct or threat they posed to national security, Ebright said the Alien Enemies Act has allowed presidents to discriminate against people based on their identity. So we already know. We already know. So they can't repeal the thing. They're not going to repeal it. Democrats are not doing nothing. So I wouldn't expect anything to happen. So that's one story. The other story that I want to bring to you quickly before I end this video is from military.com. And it's about the Marines. Now, I don't know if I discussed, I don't think I did a story about it. Maybe I did, about the black 4-star general who was removed from his post because the president said he was a DEI hire, which was not true, because that's not what the military does. They don't want to make nobody no 4-star nothing black. So the brother earned it, and they, pulled pulled him out of that position and hired somebody who was less qualified for the job. That's what white supremacy does. So this story, it says Marines with skin condition affecting mostly black men could now be booted under new policy. And basically, if you know anything about the REX84 plan, it is called to round up existing and retired or disconnected veterans, black ones, law enforcement, federal, state, and local, politicians, anybody who's in a position of authority, who knows how to teach people how to fight, who knows stuff because of their jobs in the military or jobs with police or whatever. They're going to move those people out of their positions first, because those people will not follow direct orders. What we do know is white people will kill somebody. White people will do whatever they got to do to survive, and then sit around and say, I don't know how it happened. And everybody will be like, oh, poor Kate, poor Chad. He had to make a terrible decision to kill the niggers so he could feed his family. And He regrets that he had to do it, and he gonna have all these horrible stories after he done killed up a bunch of people. But he ain't gonna not kill them. He gonna kill them and have no issue doing it, because that's just how people are. But we need to understand that that plan that I keep spelling out, they're working it backwards, but it's still working. They're moving people out of the way. They're demoting people. They're getting people off the payroll. They are getting people out of positions of power who look like us, so we're easier to round up. So understand what is going. So it says a new Marine Corps policy says troops with a genetic skin condition that can cause pain and scarring from shaving and mainly affects black men can be separated if the health issue persists. So the interim guidance issued Thursday gives military healthcare providers 90 days to reevaluate Marines diagnosed with pseudofolliculitis barbae or PFB. And those are basically razor bumps. Some men have sensitive skin when their hair grows, because our hair grows curly. It will coil back into the pore and create razor bumps. So when you shave, it just irritates it and causes the skin to bump up. And when you're in the military, you have to stay shaved every day. So it requires constant shaving, and our skin just isn't made for that. And if you read the Bible tells you if you have you're supposed to have a beard. It's not supposed to be shaved or trimmed or nothing like that. It's just supposed to be a beard. It's supposed to have a long beard, like basically the Orthodox Jews or the Amish men. So there is a I hate to say religious, but there is a Torah related law that we're supposed to do in order to obey the law, statutes, and commandments. That's how the Most High identifies His people. And so when we're shaving, we're doing the opposite of what the Most High wants us to do. So first and foremost, we shouldn't be in there because, one, you're doing the bidding of the adversary when you go and serve. Although I know a lot of our brothers and sisters who didn't know before went in because it was a way, and maybe you lived someplace that didn't have a lot of job opportunities, or you want to go see the world, whatever excuses you need, the education money. People have all different reasons for joining the military, but they don't necessarily think about these types of things because we have not known who we were for long. So this, a part of this awakening is learning, not only just about who we are, but also about the ways that we're supposed to live. And this story is interesting because we're not supposed to shave. Our men are not supposed to shave. Our men are not supposed to shave. Women, we're not supposed to cut our hair unless we are atoning with the Most High, and that's part of having a new beginning. And we're not supposed to taper our back of our head, our hairlines. It's just so much stuff that we're not supposed to do that we don't know. But this story is interesting because it don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It just has to do with the fact that they're finding ways to get rid of our people out of the military, and specifically our people, because this diagnosis primarily affects African American, Negro, Black people. If they don't recover based on a 4-phase treatment program outlined in the message, they have to remain on a shaving waiver for more than a year, and the commander deems it fit. The Corps can administratively separate them due to incompatibility with service, according to the message. The directive marks a reversal from a previous Marine Corps policy in 2022 that prohibited the service from administratively separating Marines solely based on the condition, which is caused by curled hairs is caused when curled hairs grow back into the skin, resulting in inflammation. It also comes at the same time Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has ordered a military-wide review of standards specifically focused on issues such as shaving waivers and body fat. In cases where a medical condition prevents a Marine from meeting required standards for an extended period exceeding 1 year, administrative separation may be considered if it affects long-term service compatibility. Major Jacob Getty, a spokesperson for the Marine Corps Manpower and Reserve Affairs, said in an emailed statement Friday when asked why Marines are no longer exempt from separation due to PFB. However, every effort will be made to support Marines through treatment and recovery before such decisions are considered, he added. Getty emphasized that the new guidance is meant to imbue consistency across medical exemptions and that service remains fully committed to supporting Marines with PFB. Now, why you pick that out? All the other stuff that you could have picked out, but it's something that targets us, our people. So it says it is unclear how many Marines will be affected by this new policy, as the service does not centrally track how many of them have an exception to policy for PFB, Getty said. If a Marine with PFB is discharged solely based on their diagnosis, they will receive an honorable discharge, he said. A currently practicing military dermatologist who spoke on the condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to speak to the press, told military.com on Friday that the Marine Corps' new policy could have discriminatory effects against black service members who disproportionately have the condition compared to their peers and often require shaving exemption to avoid making it worse. Black service members make up about 15 to 16% of the active duty force, they said, but 66% of shaving waivers are black. And this is the case because our men are not supposed to be shaving their faces. Y'all supposed to be having a beard. Yep, that's what the Most High said. The dermatologist said that shaving waiver holders promote more slowly than their peers and often leave the military earlier due to its cultural aversion to beards. We don't have a cultural aversion to beards. Beards are our original culture, but we didn't know it. So, it's really stupid for the person to say this because really that is our culture. The reason that we're having bumps is because we're not supposed to shave. That hair is supposed to grow out your face and be long. It's a sign that you belong to the Most High. So it says you can have a white person, black person, Hispanic person, Asian person on a shaving waiver. They're all going to get discriminated against. They're all going to promote slower, they said. But again, the vast majority of the waiver holders are black and African Americans. So that's where the racial discriminatory impact comes, which is why I said it's a way to weed out our people. You're taking away their livelihood, you're taking away their health insurance benefits, and you're getting them out of the service because that's part of the plan anyway. You don't want us to have any access to weapons. You don't want us to have any access to anything that could, be used to defend us. So it's part of the being the ignorant and defenseless piece that's really just disheartening. So it says, quote, so anything that is negative that you can apply broadly to shaving waiver holders, whether they promote slower, whether that we're going to separate them from service, whether they receive disciplinary action more often, anything that's negative you apply broad strokes to a shaving waiver group is going to disproportionately affect black and African American individuals, the dermatologist said. The treatment of for PFB, which is a genetically determined condition, are limited. They said we can't undo genetics. The dermatologist said, and so really the only way around is you just shave and endure the pain and scarring. You do laser hair removal or a shaving waiver. That's really the end of it. When asked whether the Marine Corps is concerned with the new guidance, the new guidance will disproportionately affect Black service members and increase their chances of administrative separation, Getty said the following: "Quote: The the Marine admin does not lower our standards, but provides clear, standardized guidance on how medical conditions may temporarily impact grooming and uniform compliance." Quote, "Our priority is to ensure the health and resilience of our Marines while maintaining our war fighting capability." And that's what people need to understand. The military is all about war. So when it's not wartime and people get to get good checks and sit down, not do nothing and train, okay, well, now they're getting ready to get on war footing and now they want to weed people out. And it's going to be a war on multiple fronts. So you have to understand what's going on. Part of it is preparing for World War III. The other piece is preparing for REX 84. Something specific to us. So you got two things happening at one time, which is why it's going to be so confusing for a lot of people. These updates ensure consistency in the management of medical conditions while reinforcing our commitment to returning Marines to full compliance whenever possible. End quote, he said. Quote, "The strength of our force has always been our people, and this policy ensures they remain ready to fight and win. The Marine Corps' 90-day reevaluation will assess an affected service member's current treatment regime, and I guess it's supposed to say treatment regimen, and determine whether there is need for further treatment. The message outlines a four-phase treatment protocol." And I'm not going to even read the phases. So it says the dermatologist, I'm acting slow right now. The dermatologist said that there are three likely outcomes from this policy. The first is that those who did not need a waiver in the first place will be taken off it, they said, adding that there will be some positive impact from that policy. In those cases, Marines may have shaving dermatitis, a separate condition that can improve with different shaving techniques or topical treatments and is important for clinicians to differentiate PFB, they said. The second outcome might be that Marines with PFB will feel forced to shave and endure the pain and scarring for fear of being kicked out. Other Marines, and a third possible effect of this policy, might seek laser hair removal options. So it says again, going back to the fact that 2/3 of these individuals are Black/African American and likely have true PFB, they're going to be stuck and they're going to go. Quote, "What the hell do I do now?" End quote, the dermatologist said. So it says, "I don't know what the Marine Corps thinks is going to happen here, but if you're in parts of Japan, Korea, you just can't walk around on the base. You can't just walk to the on-base dermatologist and get hair laser removal. That's not going to work," they said. "In many parts of the U.S., there is no active duty dermatologist, and TRICARE can't pay for civilian laser hair removal. There's no mechanism by which they can reimburse somebody for that. Not currently, at least." So it basically is forcing you to either get out of the military or do one of these other things that may or may not work. So it says that could leave some Marines without options. So people are going to be seeking some fixes to it. But even if they wanted to engage some of these things, they are not going to be able to, the dermatologist said. And that's, like people are stationed all over the country. I mean, it's all over the planet. So they may not have access to those things. So what happens? They're going to get kicked out and be sent home. So people are going to be. Oh, I'm sorry, that. So the Marine Corps issued the guidance under the umbrella of maintaining high standards and discipline, something the service has always prided itself on and been rigid about. So it says the new Marine guidance comes as the Department of Defense announced Wednesday a rapid review of existing military standards going back to January 1st, 2015. So that was right before the end of President Obama's time in office, because he left office in 2016. So he's just looking to Trump is looking to undo some more stuff. But anyway, I'm not gonna read any more of this because this story is kind of it's almost to the end. But what I want y'all to understand is this is the one of the numerous ways that black people are going to be led to slaughter. And black people are not going to be in this new system. They're not going to participate in the coup that's happening before we get to the new world order. It's just not going to happen. So, what is really going on is very disheartening, and I want y'all to understand that. I don't know how to say this, but it's getting really dangerous for us. This plan that they have to collect millions of black people across all 10 FEMA zones in a very short period of time, like 8 hours. This is what they're setting up for. There's a video out there of this preacher basically telling people, black people, about who's really in charge of this country, what the Project 2025 is about, and how after they get rid of everybody else that they don't want, they're coming for us. And I've been trying to prepare our people for this for the last probably 10, 12 years, and I just can't get no takers. So we are going to be in a bad situation. And I don't know whether our ignorance is going to work for us or against us. But if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Which means you need to make sure you have your go bags packed. You need to make sure you have your papers. You need to be looking out to see if there are any corridors. If you can get dual citizenship someplace else in another country, you should be trying to work on that. If you have money in anything, you need to be trying to untangle it and get it in your hands. Put it in your flow, in your mattress, in your coffee can. Whatever you got to do, put it in a hole in the ground in the yard. Get some gold and silver. So if you need to flee, you have a mechanism to conduct business. You should be trying to warn your neighbors and your family and your friends about what's coming. You should be keeping watch and making sure that you are not doing anything that is wasting your time, wasting your money, and that is going to cause you to be a sitting duck. Just cannot afford to waste any more time. And, most importantly, you need to look up what the REX84 is, because it is telling you what the plan is, and they're getting ready to implement it. It's already being implemented. You can see by the way that black people are losing out on things in mass, whether it's jobs or insurance, homes, services. We're being impacted. Other groups are being targeted, but the primary objective is to target us. So just pay attention to what's happening. None of the stuff is happening by accident. And while they have all these other distractions about all these crazy things and antics that this administration is doing, this is the real business right here. Interning people, kicking people out, and rounding people up. You're gonna be a gang, you're gonna be a terrorist, you're gonna be some threat to these people, and they're gonna have to do something with you. Although we're not doing anything to anybody, all we're doing is just trying to live in peace. That's something that this place don't let you do. So it's gonna be a challenge, but we really need to, buckle down and just look at what's happening. We're not wanted. Our usefulness is done. And so we need to be trying to figure our lives out. We don't have much time. We just do not have much time. Um, I don't know when anything is going to happen, but it looks like this collapse is going to happen sooner than later. The economic collapse, the housing bubble is going to burst. The tech bubble is coming. CBDC is supposed to be coming by October. So a lot of things have to take place in order to get us to to the to our knees. And these are the beginnings of the things. And I just want y'all to know about them. All right, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Odyssey, Rumble, Instagram, and on Facebook. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I'm going to be here and telling stories as long as I can. And that is what I want y'all to, I really want y'all to understand that this is a dangerous time for everybody. Everybody. And especially us. So we really need to come together. We really need to change our mindset. And I know we are all tired. I'm definitely fatigued, but we still got to keep notifying each other about what's going on and putting these pieces together because we don't have that much time. So keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High, keep those bags together, get your money together, get your people together if you can do that. And if not, get yourself together. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all. And I am out.